Hi, everyone. This is Gary Wilson, and welcome to this week's live weekly webinar for Path to Profit. So there's people on who are coming through the Investor Agent Training Program. There are people who have come through the Flipping Program, and even some people who have come through the program on buying rentals. And most of you are actually investor agents because for about a year and a half, all I did was focus on that particular group because it turns out that group was the one that was had the basically had the greatest need. We saw what was happening with the economy, and I'm just going to go ahead and let the floodgates open here. For those of you who are Keller Williams, most agents actually are Keller Williams because Keller Williams is the largest brokerage in North America, but a lot of you aren't. For about a year now, I've had I wouldn't call it inside information, but I was informed that we're headed for another economic dip. And it wasn't something that was said publicly, although the word was getting out last year. Well, now the word's out. Gary Keller let the cat out of the bag last week at the annual Keller Williams Family Reunion event. And some states are already in the recession. Some states are teetering on the brink of entering it. And other states are actually okay. So what's weird is this isn't the kind of thing where we can project and say, hey, this is going to be this bad or it's going to be this long, or nobody knows. I certainly don't know myself. But that's really the big reason why I've been focusing on this program, because I was asked to focus on this program. But I'm going to give you a quick tidbit here for kind of, this is, and by the way, this is true for US and Canada both. Canada has actually entered into their recovery last summer, actually a little bit before, maybe springtime, and actually are recovering from it. However, it's not I wouldn't get excited if you're in Canada. Don't get excited yet. If you know who Kevin Leary is, he's one of the guys on Dragon's Den and Shark's Tank, and he put out a message out a few weeks ago that basically said, I wouldn't buy a property in Canada in 2016 if you paid me, something like that. Now, for owner occupants, things like that, or people who are flipping homes, I would say heed the warning. Wait till prices drop, or inventory loosens up, and then you can go back into flipping. But for people who are buying and holding rental properties, my gosh, I'd be buying properties in everywhere in North America I could right now. If I had $1 billion, that's what I'd be doing. Okay, I am actively investing in almost everywhere in North America that I think is a good deal. I'm participating indirectly. I'm providing funding is what I'm doing. But I'm focusing on rentals because I don't care what the market does. The real estate market, the stock markets, it doesn't matter to me when I buy rentals. Okay. In any case, the cat was out of the bag, and here's something I want you to think about and focus on. The first-time homebuyer market is the real issue. If you notice, the first-time homebuyer market has never really recovered like it did in prior generations when there was a recession. And there's a couple factors why. A couple things. Number one is first-time homebuyers right now typically used to be like in their 20s, mid to late 20s. They're out of college, but they're straddled with debt. And now that debt is at unbelievable highs when you low level things out economically, historically speaking. Debt for college students, tuition debt is at all-time highs. So they're coming out of college, they're not getting starting salaries that are compensating for that. They're not getting starting salaries that have kept up with inflation for the most part. At least not as much as they didn't keep up with the rate and tuition increases. Let me put it that way. So in any case, they're straddled with debt. Okay. And I know from working with clients, I've had many clients where both couples are college graduates and they've got a combined $200,000 in student debt. I forget what the average is. It's not that great, but it's certainly over $60,000. They're trying to buy cars. Okay. And they're trying to pay down debt and save money at the same time. It's ridiculous. So the other thing too is a lot of people in construction have made the choice to not focus on the first-time homebuyer market because there's a greater profit margin at the higher end markets, move up market and affluent or luxury market. So you've got a couple of factors there, all right, that are affecting the first-time homebuyer market. Now here's the big aha. If the first-time homebuyer market's being affected, what's happening to the move-up market? Because all those first-time homebuyers a lot of times are buying existing homes or resales, and those people who are trying to resell their home now aren't is able to move up. The move-up market is now being impacted. So bottom line is this: is heading into 2016, everybody's probably feeling a little bit. It's a weird scenario of tight inventory, and buyers there's a smaller pool of available buyers who are qualified, and they're not that overly skeptical. So that's really why you want to focus on the investor relationship. Out of the massive agents, it still is only way less than 5%. Some markets is 5%. Some markets it's 1% or less. And yet across the board, the investor business, so this is just in the world of residential I'm talking about. I'm not talking about commercial. I'm just talking 1 to 4 units, is about 1/3 of our business. Okay. Yes, some of it is not on the multi-list system, but it doesn't matter. You can still participate. So you're in the right place. You're doing the right thing. What we want to focus on is help you capture your share of the marketplace. And so for the next couple of weeks, what we're going to focus on, guys, are marketing campaigns. And in the month of January, starting the week between Christmas and New Year's, we went over the material in the first couple of modules. We do that a couple times a year. Now we're into the marketing, and we're going to jump around a little bit. We're going to start with from the basics, and one of the things we're going to cover tonight is workshops again. Okay, so in any case, let's get started here. I want everybody to have their pens or pencils handy and paper to write on. And remember, a lot of this stuff, guys, you're going to be able to see in your modules, your training modules. Module 4 has a summary of all the marketing campaigns, not all of them, but about a dozen of them. In the case of the workshop, if you go to the My Investment Services website, and everybody here should have their memberships up and running. If you came through in Tampa last week, you might not have your membership set up yet. But the bottom line is, for everybody else, you can log in, go to the catalog of all the prior webinars. They're cataloged by subject matter. Look at the subject, okay, and go back to, there's at least 2 or 3 of them out there that focused on workshops. The first one would have been out last spring. Second would have been this past fall. Re-listen to them, listen to them in your car, okay, and take notes. Now, tonight we're going to focus on it again. And here's what we're going to do. I want you to always think about this. So on your paper, I want you to write down investor workshop. I want everybody to entertain the idea of doing this. We've had students who don't have a lot of a D or I in them on a DISC profile, but they still do well with the workshops. Okay, and the reason is the average turnout is around 20. Once you get it up and running, the average turnout is 20, and it grows from there. When we have an agent in Northern Virginia who every month has 600 people on average coming to his workshop. Mine topped out at 200. And I thought that was great. That's pretty good, but 600 is phenomenal. So everybody can do this in every market. First things first, though. Let's assuming you're preparing for your very first workshop. Okay. What I want you to focus on is, before you spend any money, time, or energy on marketing, excuse me, is focus on your current existing contact management database. And we have a student up in the Detroit area. I don't want to mention names, but he and I have spoken a couple times since Christmas, and he's actually going through his database. And before he's even going to do what I'm going to suggest to you, he's actually going through and cleaning up his database, getting rid of contacts that are not complete contacts, or phone number is no longer any good, email is no good, there's been no response. You don't want to have them clog up your database, okay? So he's very smart for cleaning up his database. And then the next thing is this. Once you have a clean database, doesn't matter if you've got 100 people or 1,000 people, the number is not that what's important right now. Right now is the fact that you've got name, email, and phone number for everybody, and preferably good notes. And here's why. You should, for every contact in your database, you should be able to answer the questions, how do you know about them, and how do you know them, and what do you know about them? Because that's going to lead you to be able to ask the next question, which is this: how likely are they to be interested in investing? A 1 would be least likely, 10 would be most likely. And here's why I want you to do that. I want you to go through, rank them 1 to 10, least likely to invest being 1, most likely wanting to invest being 10, least likely 1, most likely 10. And once you have that, call the 10s and invite them to your first workshop. And if you get less than 10 people, then call the 9s and invite them to your workshop. And if you get less than 10 people there, then call your 8s. Essentially, you want to focus on the 8s, 9s, and 10s, okay? So everybody write that down. You wanted to clean up your database. I suggest you do that first anyways, but the main exercise is ask the questions, how do you know them, what do you know about them? Then you can ask the third question is, how likely are they to invest? Those are the folks you invite to your first workshop. They're people you know them, they know you, you've done business with them in the past, and you have some degree of certainty that they have an interest in investing. You'll know when you call them, okay? Yes, you can email them. Yes, you can text them. And as a little side note here, you really want to pay attention to how people like to communicate. Some people like texting. Some people like direct communication over the phone. Some people like face-to-face communication. And some people are okay with emails. If you can determine that, make a note for your database, on your database for that client. Hey, this guy likes texting. This guy likes email. And then you'll know how to communicate with them. Okay? All right, now once you have that, the next thing you want to do is, first get them on the phone, get an email. Hey, I'm going to be having a workshop. I thought about you, and I thought you might have an interest in investing. Would you like to participate in this? Here's what we're going to do. Okay, and you'll get a real good idea of the interest level and how many people. When you get over 20 people, again, you're not so far. All you've done is you've generated some interest. All right. Now the next thing you do is this. I want you to write this down. Big number 2. You need to secure a location. And I was on a strategy call with a student this past week. His name's Austin, actually a pretty good guy up in the DC area. And he said he went to a library and he wasn't getting too far with them. In fact, Tammy, I think you and Ken said the same thing. You weren't getting too far with the libraries. So I want to go over a little bit of scripting when you go to a library to secure a room for a workshop. Always keep in mind that in order to get a room for free at the library, which is a community venue focused on the community, your event has to be community oriented. So you want to write that down. And your event also has to be nonprofit. So you can't charge any kind of an entry fee or a dues or any kind of thing like that. And you also do not want to sell properties in that workshop. You don't want to promote your own listings, in fact, and I never did. The reason is you need to be able to have this philosophy in this format in place, because the librarian is going to determine, based on what you tell them, if you're a profit or nonprofit. And you should identify yourself. Say, hey, I'm a local agent in the area, but this is not what I'm doing this for. What I'm doing this for is I'm creating a forum, a free, non-threatening forum, non-salesy forum for local investors to come to and discuss their investing activities with each other and seek help and share ideas in a very friendly, open environment that's non-threatening. Okay? And when you mean it and you say it, then you're going to be able to get a room in a library. We have plenty of people who do it. Okay, that's one venue. You can also do the same thing at your local municipal building. They typically will have a community room that you can use for free as long as you're a citizen of that community. By the way, same thing with the library. You typically have to be a citizen of that community where the library is. Okay. Although I will tell you, I know I have students who've gone across town to set up a workshop at another neighboring library, and they were able to do it. So libraries, community centers, or essentially municipal buildings. You can also go to community centers. They might want to charge you a small fee, though. Fire halls, okay. Your local volunteer fire company typically lets you have their hall, as long as your thing is nonprofit, one night a month, for example. Your schools, you can use your local schools. I've done that before. In fact, I think somebody else was telling me they were using a school. Tammy, that might have been you, in fact, perhaps. Yeah, schools. And the last one is churches, guys. Most churches, as long as you're a member, if you're a member of a church or a synagogue or a mosque, excuse me, whatever the case may be, ask the administrator for the church if you could rent out the community room or a conference room for free once a month. And typically we'll do that as long as you're a member, and again, as long as it serves the community and is nonprofit. So in any case, once you get your location secured, you want to secure it 1 month in advance of your first meeting. Okay. I always like to have a month to prepare. You can do it in 2 weeks once it's up and running, but first time out of the gate, you want to give yourself a month. Matter of fact, if Anastasia's on, you guys can ask Anastasia, and she'll tell you she was going to do one on short notice in January and decided to give herself more time, and I think it worked out for her. I think she had 8 people at her first workshop. Matter of fact, Anastasia, let me see if you're on here. Let's see. I know she's got small children, and she's not on tonight. Okay, no problem. Okay, so you get your location secured. Now what you want to do is go back to the people you've already communicated with and say, okay, guys, we have our venue, we have the date, we have the time, and that way you give them plenty of notice. And what you want to do is this. Send it to them in an email and follow up with either a phone call or a text, okay? Now, do that. Again, that could be 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out. Send out another reminder and maybe put something in there in your email, like you can Google real estate news, get a good report on something that's happening in the world of real estate, and attach the link in your email so there's something of value there. So you're giving them something of value, and you're also giving them a reminder. You want to do the same thing 1 week out, and then either the morning of or the night before, one final message. Could be a text message, depending on how they like to be communicated with, to remind them to be there. So if you want to get 20 people at your first workshop, that's how you do it. Okay. You don't even need meetup.com at this point. Right now, we're just exercising this vehicle, this marketing vehicle, to get people there. Okay. So you got your location. Now you invite your people every week leading up to it. So you've got basically 3 waves of communication. Wave 1, 4 ways. Wave 1 is get the interest level up, determine the interest level. That's 4 weeks out. The 3rd week out is let them know, okay, we got the venue. Here's the date, the time, and the place. 2 weeks out is a reminder with something of interest. And 1 week out is another reminder, same thing. And then the night before or the morning of, okay? That's right. So far, so good. Let me check and see if I've got any questions here before I get into more detail. So hang on 1 second. Let's see. Jamie would like Anastasia. Hey, Jamie, if you could contact Beverly, I don't keep that stuff myself. You can, if you can contact Beverly via the 800 number or Beverly's email address, she'll share with you Anastasia's contact information. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'm caught up with questions. So far, so good. And by the way, hi, Linda Usher. I just saw that you tapped in. Welcome aboard. Okay, so you've got your first venue. And the reason I want you to focus on people you know at first is because you know them, they know you, and people will come to your support when they know you and like you and trust you. And they may even likely bring a friend to the very first one. It's not required. What you want to do is basically get out there and swing the bat. You want to exercise this marketing campaign. So now we're up to the night of the meeting. You've got your first meeting. I never brought in cookies and drinks and things like that because I'm a guy and I don't think of those things. Although now I do because I've been trained properly. But it may be okay to do that. You have to check with your local, whatever venue you're using, check with the library, check with the church, and see if you can bring in, gallons of tea or water or cookies or what have you. If you want to do that, that's fine. Not a requirement, but some people may appreciate it. Who doesn't like a cookie and a cup of tea, right? Okay. So when you get in there, I want you to think about what you're going to do when you get there. And here's what I want you to consider. Excuse me. All right. For your very first meeting, you're not going to know what to talk about. And the good news is this, twofold. Number one is you don't want to talk a lot. you only want to speak for a few moments, because if you're doing all the talking, you're not accomplishing one of the greatest benefits of this open forum, this open workshop, which is getting people involved, getting them to feel comfortable discussing what's currently going on in their investing activities. Okay. And the more that they get involved, the more engaged they'll become and tied to this event, and they will keep coming back again and again and again. So what do you do for the first one? What I would do is this. I would actually do some canvassing through your MLS system ahead of time, start about a week in advance, and go ahead and print off properties that you might think are good investments. It's going to be easier to do rentals because you can find rentals that are listed and they give you some of the basic pro forma information, what the rents are, what the expenses are, so forth and so on. Print those off, and don't worry about being 100% correct at this point. You just want to bring these in because you're going to use them as an exercise to exercise the analysis forms, the sheets to determine cash flow, for example. Okay, so bring in enough copies for everyone. Let's say you brought in 2 properties, one that you thought might work and one that you might think would not work, and you can explain why. Maybe you bring in 3. I wouldn't bring in any more than 3, but you want to give everybody a set of the 3. So if you got 20 people, you need 20 copies of all 3 of those properties. Okay, the MLS sheets. Also bring in some blank cash flow worksheets, and this again, I'm assuming you're bringing in rentals. All right. Don't bring in the Excel spreadsheet yet. It's too complex. It'll take up too much time. I can promise you that. If you want to bring it in and bring it on your laptop, you can turn the computer around and demonstrate to them how that Excel spreadsheet works if you want to. But what you want to get them to do is, remember, a lot of these people have not invested yet, or if they have, they made mistakes. So get them used to using the real basic simple form first. Cash flow worksheet. It's in your material. Hand it out like candy. Give them several blanks. Don't just give them 3, give them 10 each. Okay. And you could even write it before you make copies of it, maybe take your business card and stick it on the top of the copier where there's a blank space on that page, so they have your content information on that cash flow worksheet. And then let them go through the exercise of filling out the cash flow worksheet for each of those 3 properties. And if you've got one that maybe would not be such a good deal, you're going to allow them the opportunity to go through the cash flow worksheet and see for themselves why it might not be such a good deal. Okay, and then also, by natural extension, they'll have an example of one that may look like a good deal and get them excited. The bottom line is you want to give them something to do while they're there. Okay, get them engaged, get them involved, get them sharing notes, communicating, asking questions, and that's basically going to be the bulk of that first meeting. Now, just to kind of bookend things, in the beginning, you're not going to just start off handing out the sheets and handing out the MLS sheets and the cash flow worksheets. What you want to do is get up and just speak for 5 minutes, and you want to give them the little bit of, just say, here's why we're doing this. You guys all know me, because remember, you're starting with people that you know. You let them know that you have a vested interest in investors in the community because it's what you do for a business. You also recognize there's some tremendous opportunities out there for people who are willing and eager to learn, and you wanted to provide a safe, non-risk, non-threatening environment for people to come together and share their ideas and share their challenges and help each other out. And you're their guide. You're the person that's helping all this come together. Okay. Now, what you can do, and this is what I recommend, I would write this down, is bring in an article from, you can use the Wall Street Journal, whatever city you're in, use that city's paper, or a better idea is this: go online and Google real estate news, because there are hundreds literally of reporting networks out there, and some of them focus specifically on real estate news. Okay, there's a magazine called Real Estate Investor. Andrew Braithwaite is the editor. I actually got to know him. Met him a few occasions a few years ago. And he has articles. You can also go to deeperpockets.com, get some real neat articles there, okay? And print the article off, make copies of it, bring it in, and go over it just briefly. Just again, you're trying to keep this to 5 minutes and say, guys, I just want to share this with you. Here's something I got from deeperpockets.com, for example. So Jamie, if you're on the webinar, let me see if Jamie's on board. Let's see. Oh, you are, Jamie. That's right, because you wanted Anastasia's contact information. So, Jamie, you were asking about where can you get an article you didn't see anything you like. Just Google real estate news. Don't worry about your local paper. And if you're not seeing anything that looks appealing to you, and you should, because there's a number of reporting agencies out there, just go to deeperpockets.com. There's a number of articles out there written for different aspects of real estate. Okay. So in any case, first 5 minutes, introduce yourself, give them the layout of the land, give them the agenda, kind of the rules for the meeting. It's, nobody's coming in there to sell properties, right? Speak for 5 minutes on whatever article you brought in, and then tell them we're going to go through some exercises here. I want to make sure everybody's comfortable looking at a listing for a property and trying to determine, is this the kind of thing you want to pursue further, which means call the listing agent, get more information, and perhaps go see the property. Okay. And then go through the properties, do the cash flow worksheets on them, go through them. Now, what you want to do is this. The last thing you're going to tell them in your initial discussion is, at the end, you're going to open up the floor for discussion. It's going to be easy to do, because most people, when they go through the exercise, a lot of them are going to come up with questions that'll get people comfortable speaking up, raising their hands, asking questions. Okay? And so when you finish going through the properties, you've got a natural segue into an open forum. So you say, okay, guys, let's compare these. Which one looks like the best? Which one looks like the worst? Why is that? Why does it look like the best? Why does it look like the worst? Okay? Then you can, and you want to write this down, by the way. Once you've done that, ask this next question. Okay, let's ask some people in the room here. Who here has bought a rental before, and did it work out for you? Was it a good deal? Was it a bad deal? Was it you're not so sure? And don't just ask them yes or no questions. Ask them who, what, where, when, why, and how questions. Okay. And what that'll do is most people are willing to share information. They love talking about their experiences. And the people who never invested before are going to gobble it up. Okay. They're going to eat it right up. And the biggest benefit of this is this, that third part of the meeting. In other words, the part about the open forum where you can have people discuss their experiences. It's going to allow other people, enable or empower other people to feel more comfortable discussing what they're currently going through. You might find somebody that says, you know what, I'm so glad I did this, because I just bought my first rental and I didn't know what I was getting into. Now that somebody's not paying the rent, I found out that the furnace or whatever, there's all kinds of things that come up. Because what you want to do is give people the atmosphere, create the atmosphere where they can share what's working and also get advice on solving problems, helping them with challenges, because other investors will come to the rescue. And all you've got to do is create the format, create the forum. You don't even have to say much. All you're doing is you're acting as a mediator. Okay? So let me take a quick break here and look for questions. So far, it looks like we're good. Let me go back and double check. Okay, so far so good. All right, a few more things to write down. When you come to these workshops, come prepared with a sign-in sheet, and you want to ask on the sign-in sheet just 3 columns: name, column 1, phone number, column 2, email address, column 3. If you want to have a column 4, you can put area, but for the most part, most people are going to be from the area where you're holding the meeting. But if you want to do that, that's fine. Okay, and just let them know that you're gonna communicate with them based on what they put on that form there, and plus you've got a record of who showed up and who didn't. All right, because remember, you're going to be communicating with these people in advance, and you're asking them to respond to you to RSVP, and then confirm later on if they are in fact coming. All right, now let's say you've got your sign up sheet. You got people who have a cash flow worksheet with your name and phone number and email, your contact information on it. They've got samples of properties, and they've got a pertinent, meaningful article that they can use and take home with us. So they got some good stuff to take home. They had a good meeting with good discussions, and maybe you fed them cookies and drink. But here's what you want to do. Before everybody leaves, say, hey guys, and ask them, show of hands here, who here likes this format? Okay, most people are going to, of course, say yes. Who here would like to do this again? And you tell them, because I'd like to do this every month. Is that okay? Raise your hand, looking for confirmation. When they do that, say, great. Let's do it same time, same place next month. But next time, feel free to bring someone with you. Friend, neighbor, relative, co-worker, somebody from church or school or what have you. Okay? And ask them to bring someone with them. And if they could, communicate who they are ahead of time so you can confirm with them also via email or text or phone call. Okay? That's what you do at the meeting. Now, what you do after the meeting is very, very important. You always want to follow up with an email. I prefer email. The next day, don't wait. Do it the next day. If you have to wait 2 days, I get it. We're all busy. A lot of us have children. But if you can do it the next day, guys, this is going to be very powerful. Just send them a simple thank you. Thank you for participating. I love what I do. I love serving people. And this gives me a very low risk, non-threatening, free format for you, my clients and friends to participate in. It allows me to satisfy my desire to serve and help other people. I hope you liked it. I look forward to seeing you again next month. And by the way, here's something else for you. And you can include in the email some attachments of some other forms. The rehab forms for flips. There's a number of things you can send them. You can send them a link. You can send them the attachment for the Excel spreadsheet. You can send them a link for the rental property reporter, okay, which is a more of an advanced technique for analyzing rentals. All right. So send them some give. Thank Zig Ziglar. Give. Okay. I promise you it'll develop a good long-term relationships and loyalty. And by the way, don't be surprised if your first meeting you get people coming up to you and saying, you know, I really appreciate you doing this, and I really do want to invest. Would you work with me? Okay. It's going to happen. I think Anastasia had 2 people who were investing, 2 people wanted to invest, 2 people who wanted to but didn't have money. I forget the mix, but you know, she had a pretty good turnout, pretty good results from her first one, and then I can't wait to see her do her second one. In any case, that's the basic format, guys. What I want to do now is go into phase 2, which is how you crank it up. You're basically going to add a little high octane fuel to this method, this marketing method, and it's going to crank up your numbers. But I don't want you to do this next part until you've done the first part, what we just described earlier, because what I just described in the first half hour here is totally free. Okay, it doesn't take a lot of effort, and you're only working with people whom you already met. You've already worked with them, you know with them, whatever, they're friends, neighbors, relatives, but hopefully people you've worked with in the past through the use of your license, okay? That's always how you cut your teeth on this approach. And it doesn't matter if you get a transaction at first night or not. The value is in the exercise, okay? Okay, everybody ready for part 2? If I could, if you guys could give me a show of hands, or I just want to make sure you're keeping up. And I want to make sure if you have questions that we answer them. So here's one from Peter. Okay, Peter says, do you see more results from the booklets or these worksheets in terms of clients? Worksheets. I think you mean workshops, Peter. Yeah, here's the difference between what we call contact marketing methods and non-contact marketing methods. Contact means you're in front of them face-to-face, belly-to-belly. It's in person, it's live, it's the direct communication. The results are always faster from workshops, and it's because they get to see you, so that know you, like you, trust you, that's vital in business, is accomplished far more quickly. They get to see you. They see, yeah, you're a regular guy just like them, and you're taking time out of your day to help them. You might have elderly parents and children too. So there is a faster path to new clients through the workshop. Absolutely. Anytime there's a direct contact marketing method being used, absolutely the fastest path to new clients. Okay. Now compare that to the workbook. The booklet that we have you guys create. The booklet is what you send in the mail to a niche group of people. It could be oncologist, it could be uh, podiatrist, it could be ophthalmologist, it could be chiropractors, what have you. Um, that booklet generally takes a few months to build up enough recognition in people's minds of who you are and what you're doing, and build up enough interest and intrigue, and maybe just enough to know you and even a little bit of like you to actually respond to you. Okay, so the booklet will take longer. On average, we get about 3 phone calls for every 25 booklets, but that's over the whole lifespan of using booklets. So most people send out their first booklet. Actually, I shouldn't say this. About half of you do get phone calls, but half of you don't. There's no way of knowing why. It could be the area, could be the time of year, could be something in your booklet. But I always encourage you guys, please send me your booklet before you send it out. Okay, so I can take a look at it. Another thing too about the booklet, and this is for Peter and everyone else on the call here. Once you've sent out 2 of them, maybe it's 3, I wouldn't make a big deal of this, but what I would do is if you're in an area and you're within a mile or 2 of a local office, chiropractor's office who's been getting your booklet, my gosh, stop in and visit them. Say, hey, I'm Peter. I'm the guy that's been sending you that booklet. What do you think? Okay. And start up just a real short, brief conversation. You don't want to take up a lot of their time because number 1, they're surprised that you're there. All right. And number 2 is they're business people. They could be busy. So what you say is, hey, look, no worries. How about if I just set you up on your own search in your area just for you with properties that suit your needs? Okay. No obligation. It's totally free. I'd be shocked if you didn't get 9 yeses out of 10. And then what you can do is follow up with, great, I'll have to call you later. When will be a good time? Because I need to ask you 3 questions that will help me tailor this search just for you for the right properties in the right area. Okay, that's all you want to do. You set the appointment. That technique works wonderfully once you've been sending the booklet out. Okay, the booklet's non-contact, but when you combine contact with it, it's a very powerful tool. We have students who never went and visited these people at all, and yet they still get phone calls. But I'm telling you, I would highly encourage you to show up in person, let them see your face, let them see you're a real person, and all of a sudden that know you, like you, trust you is much more easily accomplished. Okay, so that's the comparison between contact and non-contact, or in this case, workshop and booklet. Let's see here. Jamie says, doing good. Awesome. Okay, this is Peter says, okay, that's good to know. That's also cheaper. Yeah, it is. Workshops are essentially free, and by the way, you can combine the efforts. I mean, let's think, a lot of professional business owners, they're not going to have time to go to workshops. So you want to use the booklet to communicate with those guys, particularly those really, the high wage earning self-employed service providers who are busy. Okay. The workshops are real good for guys like engineers, teachers, firemen, policemen, things like that. Those guys are awesome candidates for workshops. All right. So you got to think about your crowd and what would be of in greatest service to them. Okay. Okay, so let's move on here. Phase 2 of a workshop. Okay, so let's assume you had your first workshop, and you're like Anastasia, you had 8 people show up, or you're like, who was it? Francis Berry had 20. Actually, I think he had like 27 or 28 at his first workshop. He actually used Meetup right out of the gate, and he was a little bit overwhelmed. He didn't have enough chairs, and that's why I don't want you to use Meetup until you've done your first workshop. Okay. So, in any case, phase 2. Actually, hang on one second here. Here is we got a new question from Linda Usher. Hi, Linda. Linda says, "What 3 questions do you ask about the search when you call them?" Okay, good question. So, Linda, what I do is once I get them on the phone, very quickly build rapport again. Remind them, hi, I'm Gary. I met you today. I'm going to set you up on a search, but I need some basic information, and here's what I need. Number 1 is, do you believe you have a stronger interest in flipping homes or a stronger interest in buying rentals? Okay, number 1, because that'll tell you what database you need to be in. All right. And the second question is geographic. Okay, would you like to keep it around where your office is? Do you there are other areas and you would want to suggest things here, by the way, Linda. So I would suggest that if you're looking for rentals, that we try to be around hospital systems or university systems. And if that's not possible in your town, maybe there's not a big hospital system around, or there's not a big university around, or college, you want to be close to shopping centers, okay, and schools. So suggest shopping centers, suggest schools, suggest hospitals, suggest universities, okay? And because a lot of times they're going to say, well, I just want to have it around where I live because I don't want to have to go far. Well, that's a bad answer, because then where they live might be great for um, affluent individuals to live, but not very good for people who want to own rentals or rent places, right? So second question is geographic. Okay, where? Third question is, price range. Is there a particular price range you like to focus on? And that might open up some more dialogue. And if it does, that is awesome, because you want to find out if these people at some point and very early on, are they qualified to be able to buy properties? What do they have in the way of savings? What is their credit rate? Do they know what their credit rate is, and would they qualify for a loan? And number three is, do they have an available business line of credit that they can use to tap into to purchase income producing assets, which are business purchases? Very, very legitimate. Okay. In any case, third question is, what kind of price range? So you've got flipping versus renting, number one. You've got geography, number two, and you've got price range, number three. So Linda, those are the three basic questions. But always remember, when you're building rapport with these people, you're always in the business, you're always in the game or the dance of building rapport. So be sure to ask him some open, make sure you don't finish the conversation without asking at least one open-end question, okay? Like a who, what, where, when, why, or how question. Like, what is your inspiration for focusing on rentals? Like, in other words, why do you want to focus on rentals? That'll get them talking, okay? So, in any case, back to the phase two. So phase two is, you had your first meeting, 8 people showed up, 28 people showed up, whatever the case is. You've had your first one. If you're ready to take it to the next level right away, here's what you want to do. And I'm going to reduce my screen so I can see everything, and you guys are going to see what I'm going to do. We like to utilize meetup.com. Okay. Now, meetup.com allows you to create your own meetup group. All right. You can also find existing meetup groups. Here, we'll just click on find, and we will find out that I think that was Virginia Beach, because I've got meetup groups in a number of locations. Within 5 miles of Virginia Beach, you can see, well, that's not right. Pittsburgh RIA is definitely not within 5 miles of Virginia Beach. How's that for interesting? There's a Tidewater Trig. That's definitely in the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area, Virginia. Of course, Pittsburgh's up in Pittsburgh. There's Acre. Virginia Peninsula, that's on where NASA is, Langley Air Force Base near Hampton and Newport News and all that. And again, you can see there's a handful of investor groups already out there using meetup.com. And look, here's some other ones. Wholesaling. Okay. Virginia Beach Open House, Virginia Beach Real Estate Investors Group. All kinds. But what I want to do is, you can click on find meetup groups. You can see all the ones that are out there, and you can join them. You can sign up and become members of those meetup groups, which can be a very good thing, because you may want some of those participants to come to your meetup, to come to your workshop, which leads me to the next thing. Start meetup group. So everybody have your pen and pencil ready and a piece of paper, because I'm going to go through this. It doesn't take long, but I'm going to show you how simple this really is, okay? So click up here, start meetup group. Okay, and I'm not actually going to create one. I'm just going to walk through the exercise. Okay. I'm going to assume Virginia Beach, Virginia, because maybe that must have been the last one I created. I'm not sure why. I've done this all over the North America. And by the way, you will recognize that other people, just like me and ultimately just like you, will start to set up meetups in multiple locations. Okay. If you're in a big metropolitan area like Atlanta or Washington, D.C., or Toronto or San Francisco, or even L.A. is huge, you can have multiple meetup groups. Okay. Hang on, we got AVG's trying to tell me something there. So let's just click on next. Okay, now check this out. It's a meetup for people interested in, okay, and you can either type things in here or you can come down here and select keywords or key phrases that are already available to you. So we can select real estate investor meetings. That's kind of dull and boring. Doesn't really get very specific, but look, check this out. Investing for retirement, beginning real estate investing, getting started as a real estate investor. If I was you, I would pick some of these categories because a lot of people are interested in investing. They just don't know where to start, and they see these keyword phrases: beginner real estate investing, getting started as a real estate investor. Okay, here's some others. Look at this. United States Navy, veterans. So if you want to create a niche group, this is where I'm going to explain to you how and why this works. You might want to pick veterans in beginner real estate investing or getting started as a real estate investor. Combine these two. Now you're going to attract veterans, former military, who are interested in investing in real estate. And if you're in an area like San Diego, of course, Washington, D.C., anywhere in Hampton Roads, Virginia, down around Charleston, South Carolina, Houston, Texas, Cincinnati, Dayton, Ohio, big Air Force Base, Colorado Air Force Academy, Annapolis, Maryland, Naval Academy, West Point. Military bases are all over the place up in New York. Okay, you can choose these keywords and key phrases, and what will happen is you're going to fill in these. Let's just pick one. See, meet a group for veterans wanting to get started investing in real estate. So you're filling in, you're creating your category, you're creating your niche, and you can pick any number of these. You can start typing things in too, like let's do this. How about retired Navy? Something like that. You can, in other words, you can create your own, okay? So in any case, you get up to 15 topics, okay? And I would choose 15 keywords and 15 key phrases. So let's assume we've done that. And let me do a quick check. I want to make sure everybody is okay so far. So hang on one second. Okay, no new questions. All right, let me bring the panel back over. So let's assume we pick 15, click next, and you can see how user-friendly this is. You're going to say, yes, I agree to create a real face-to-face community. And in fact, you are. So you click agree. Okay. And now you want to give it a name, Virginia Beach Veterans. Let's just do this. Virginia Beach veterans who want to invest in, real. Let's erase that. Virginia Beach veterans who want to invest in real estate. Boom. Click next. Okay. Group description. So you guys see what I'm doing here. All I'm doing is I'm following. It's simple. You follow the instructions. Click next. Let me. Let's go back here. I'll just copy this, and I'll go all the way through as far as you guys want. Okay. Now you do want to be more descriptive there. Members. What are members called? Let's call these folks real estate investors. Okay, these we're going to call our members. Save and continue. Okay, now we're getting close to the payment stuff. Organize subscription. Choose your plan. Okay, limit to 50 members and 4 organizers is only $10 a month, or you can go as big as you want for $15 a month. It's up to you. I can tell you we've had people blow past 50 in a matter of months. Okay, you can start off with $10 if you want, but if you're already going to spend 10, are you willing to spend 5 more so that you got the format you want, okay, at the level you want that allows you to expand and do like our guy up in Northern Virginia who has now 600 people show up every month, all right? So in any case, I'm not gonna choose one of these because I don't want to create another one. I don't need one right now. But I wanted you to see how easy it is to create this, and here's why it's so powerful. What will happen now is when you set up your first workshop, or now in this case your second workshop with a local library, okay, you're going to come back here and you're going to post a message that lets people know you're having a meetup, you're having a group meeting on Thursday, February 25th, okay? And what'll happen when you put it out there, Meetup is going to go out and use your keywords and key phrases and look at all the members in Meetup in that area, all different groups who have matching keywords and matching phrases, and let them know about your event. How does it get any better than that? Well, I don't know, because I think that's pretty darn good. In other words, it does all the work for you. You don't have to call anybody. You don't have to email anybody now. Meetup goes out and notifies everybody who's a veteran in the Navy who wants to learn how to invest in Virginia Beach, and they're gonna see the invite to your meeting. Okay. And by the way, remember, you've got 15 keywords and 15 phrases, so you can be pretty niche specific. All right. So in any case, you can constantly change this up. It's modifiable. All kinds of neat stuff is possible with meetup.com. Great way to help facilitate and allow you to build a membership, which is what you're doing. You're basically building a community of members, of people who want to invest, and you can do multiple niches too, by the way. We have people who do one different workshop every week of the month. So week number 1, they'll do retired Air Force. Week number 2, they'll do Air Force Reserve. Week number 3, they'll do active duty Air Force, which is probably too big of a group. Week number 4, they'll take off. You can do, let's say you're a nurse, oncology nurse. Week 1, you do nurses. Week number 2, you do oncologists. Week number 3, you do radiologists, whatever. You get the picture. Those are called splinter groups, okay? Or if you really want to go advanced with this, you can do what Tammy and Ken are getting ready to do, which is create a classroom scenario. Now, we're not going to get into that tonight because it's an advanced technique. It actually takes 4 weeks to pull off, and it takes me 4 one-hour sessions to describe it. So if you go back to the webinars, the recordings from late September, early October, you'll see there's a series of 4 webinars devoted to explaining how you pull off a classroom scenario. But back to tonight's subject. So that's how you do Meetup. You define your niche, okay? You go back out, and again, now your location should be able to be used on a regular recurring basis, okay? You want to make sure it's set up so it's automatically renewed every month, same time, same place, same location. All right. Go back into your Meetup and post your message so everybody gets it. Okay. And every month, make sure you prepare about a week in advance. Think about what your 5-minute subject's going to be, your topic of discussion. And try to keep it to 5 minutes. I know it could be 10, it could be 15. But the more you talk and the less they talk, the less valuable this method's going to be. You've got to get them engaged, get them rolling up their sleeves, get them involved. Now, I want to give you a couple of quick tips here. Again, always bring a sign-up sheet. Always bring something for them to do and something for them to take away. Always do follow-up. Always thank them for coming there. They're giving up an hour away from their families too, just like you. Okay, it's all for a good cause. All right. So always do the follow-up. Now, when you get to have, let's say Anastasia had 8 people at her first meeting, that's perfect. 1 table, 8 people, easily controllable. I'm going to tell you guys, when you get to 20 people, it's going to challenge you. And that's why I only want you to do your first one with a group of people that you know first. So it's maybe only 10 or 12 people, maximum. Okay. Francis will be the first to tell you, it can be a little bit unnerving when you have 28 people at your first meeting, and all of a sudden you get the cold chills, right? So in any case, when you get to say more than 12 people, you want to break people up into tables. And here's how you do this. 2 tables is easy. 1 table talks about flips, 1 table talks about rentals. And then you can let people get up and back and forth, change tables. open discussion. You can jump back and forth between the tables too. When you get to over 20 people, you're going to want 3 tables, okay? And you can start getting into more specific subjects. Like one table talks about rehabbing. One table talks about getting new financing. One table talks about, landlord tenant, kicking, evicting tenants, and so forth. Your people will tell you what they want to talk about. They'll tell you. And essentially, at some point, you have to talk about wholesaling. I'm going to talk to Tammy. And by the way, when Tammy and I talk, guys, if it's something that I think is valuable, we'll bring it up next week. I'm not saying it's not valuable, but something that everybody will benefit from. I won't know until we have our discussion. But I will tell you this. The states of Ohio and New York are working on legislation that are going to ban wholesaling. Okay? And if that happens, and I believe it's going to, in short order, you'll find all the other states falling in line over the next few years. Okay, big ones will go first, like California. Other states, they probably don't. If you have a state like North Dakota, maybe Wyoming, they're not really gonna care as much. It's been my been my experience with legislation related to real estate. So, in any case, back to our subject tonight. I hope everybody got a lot out of this. Again, doing workshops is a 2-step process. Step 1 is work with who you know and what you know and where you are, and start small, because there's gonna be things that'll pop up that you're not prepared for. It's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, but when. And if you got 8 people around you that know you, no big deal. Okay. Once you've got that nailed down, then you can bring in Meetup to help add some high octane to this thing, and it'll add to your numbers. Okay, let's see. We got some questions here. Jamie says, all right, splinter groups and rotating weekly groups, are you paying $14.99 per group? Yes, you pay for each group. Okay, Linda, Gary, is there a day and time that seems to work best for the workshops? Oh, awesome. This is Linda Holloway. Linda, yes. Okay, it's been our experience with the group, not just me, but all the students, that Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays are absolutely the best nights. Mine were always Wednesdays. I always had mine on Wednesdays. But Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Thursdays are always your best nights. Also, 7 p.m. seems to work really well. And here's some important information. This came up with my call with Tammy and Ken. Secure the room for 2 hours, 7 to 9. Okay. And when you promote it, let them know it's an hour workshop with a half hour of follow-up Q&A if needed, because you'll have people hang around. Leave the remaining half hour unpublished. Leave it there as necessary, because you're going to have people come up to you, particularly after the 2nd, 3rd month. People are going to start getting comfortable with you. They're going to know you, like you, trust you. They're going to come up and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you in private. Okay, you want to be able to stay right there. And if the discussion is around them using you as their agent, or helping them list a property they've been wanting to sell, or help them buy their first property, at that point, what I would do is have the initial conversation, but don't do any contract work. Don't sign any buyer's agency agreements. Don't do anything other than gather information and say, let's get some information here. I will call you tomorrow and you pick the time. You always want to follow up within 24 hours. Okay, and then you can secure the relationship, the business relationship that's now for profit. And you've done that off premises, so you maintain your integrity. You've honored the code of ethics with the venue that you're using. In other words, your event is nonprofit, and yet you satisfied that consumers need to work with you. Okay. Sorry to ramble on there, but that was a very good question. I appreciate you bringing that up. Okay, let's see here, guys. I want to double check. I think I've got all the questions answered here. So it's 5 after. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up, but I'm going to give you another shot here for more questions. Let's see. There's one more. Yes, Russ. Can you use a large training room at your office? Russ, I'm glad you brought this up. Okay, we do have students who've used their own real estate offices for their workshops, and they absolutely do work. Now, I will tell you, my personal preference is to use a neutral site That's why I like churches and schools and municipal buildings and libraries, because they're neutral. And, you know, you might not have a problem at your local office because then you're going to be able to get it for free. And most people driving up are going to be okay. Hey, they're coming to a meeting to talk about investing. They see it's a real estate building, no big deal. But I'm pretty sure some of the consumers are going to have a little bit of a hesitancy as soon as they see, you know, Remax, Caldwell Banker, Keller Williams, whatever, and a big marquee outside. And then they're thinking, oh, I'm going to go in here. What if this is another salesy kind of thing, you know? That's the only drawback with using your office. However, I've had students use it and they've had no problems. So that's kind of a personal call. And if you don't want to deal with going to libraries and all that kind of stuff, absolutely, just use your office. Okay, Jamie says would like to set up a coaching call. Absolutely. You know what, Jamie? I think you sent me an email. Now that I see your message, and I don't think I got back to you. So, Jamie, let me do this. I'm going to look for your email. Let me write this down. Today is the 18th. Jamie's email. And Jamie, we will have another strategy call with you, okay? And we'll go over it because I think you want to do the workshop, which I'm so glad you're doing. I think you'd be awesome at it. And I'm going to have you follow the path of Ken and Tammy and do a classroom scenario ultimately. So, and by the way, I've got a note here for Tammy and Ken. Peggy says to say hello, and she's so happy that you're doing the classroom scenario. She admires you, and good luck. So for those of you who don't know, Ken and Tammy got to meet Peggy. We were all at dinner back in Washington, D.C. around Thanksgiving. And it was a great dinner, a great time looking at all the museums and monuments. It was actually just a wonderful time. So Tammy and Ken, you got some people in your corner rooting for you. Of course, I'm one of them. And then Tammy, I will call you, if not tomorrow, Saturday. So, okay. And Jamie, same thing. Okay, guys, so hope you have a wonderful night. I appreciate you being on board. Please remember you get the recording tomorrow. Make sure you re-listen to it or watch it if you want to. And listen to the other ones from prior meetings. It might fill in some gaps. But this should be enough to get you off and running. For those of you who haven't done one yet and you want to do it, just let me know when you're ready for a strategy call, and we will go through your particular circumstances and get you started. Okay, guys, hope you have a wonderful night. And, oh, by the way, we will see you next week on the 25th, which happens to be another Thursday, by the way. And I will be in Phoenix, Arizona, doing it for Phoenix, Arizona. And it'll be 5 o'clock for me, but it'll be 7 o'clock for you on the East Coast, 4 on the West Coast, and everybody else somewhere in between. Okay, guys, so hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.